Hey Rebels, welcome back to the channel for another weekly review. So let's dive into the charts and see what we got this week. So far, it looks like we've had some selling come in this week, but we did close above this major trend line that we've been tracking for quite some time. So a close above that is a good sign. Also, in a close in the top half of this particular tool for this move is a good sign. Let's put this range back on here. Yeah, and closes above this 50%. So if I'm looking for a pullback this week or anticipating any kind of pullback, what I'd really like to see is a close above this 50% level. Close beneath it, or wick beneath it, close above is great. Really, for a really strong market, holding above this trend line right here is going to be a good sign. So if we're just looking for signs of strength and weakness, that's how I see it. We're in very strong territory. We're in the top half of our 50% tools for pretty much all ranges right now, which is a really bullish place to be. That does not mean prices can't go lower, but we have already had our overbalance in time and price, um, signaling that if we do get a drawdown, if we do come back down to retest some of these levels down here, it's more than likely going to be a higher low. It can go lower. If it did, I would anticipate not much lower. But actually, I think you would have to reset your overbalance in time and price if that happened. We're a long way from that. Where I'm at right now, I'm still with the odds are with us heavily that if prices do come back down, it's going to be a higher low. So and lots of different charts are screaming that across the board. I've posted many in the group, lots and lots of bullish signs right now. So, now kind of begs the question of like, okay, well, I was late to this move. Do I wait for better prices, lower prices? And that's going to be a fundamental question that everyone's going to always have to ask themselves. And so, really, should I wait or should I buy? The answer is you should have a plan. You should have a plan and be okay with the outcome. If prices come lower, if you buy now, are you okay if prices come lower? Are you prepared to maybe put part of your position in now and part in later to hopefully average your price down? If you don't buy waiting for that correction to come and the market takes off, are you okay with that? Because then you're going to have to ape in at a higher price, and that is more risky. And so sometimes it's more risky to be out of the market waiting for a correction than it is to be in the market locked in. Because if you look at this, it's a lot of chop, a lot of grinding, and then in short order, if you're not in the market, if you weren't in the market for these 3 weeks, you missed, you know, like almost all the gains from the lows. Like if you're not in the market during the short period of time that it's trending, then you're missing out basically. So those are fundamental things that you have to ask yourself. And this for this channel, for what I'm doing right now, I'm trading a leveraged account and we're doing a 5K challenge. That's going really well. I think our balance right now is about 11,000. I added an extra 500 in there from another account. And so net right now we're at 11 grand. So we've made 6 grand in a week, which is pretty good because we didn't have very aggressive positions at all because have been waiting for more and more layered confirmation. Like I think I got into those positions before we even had our overbalance in time and price. Now that we have that, I'm very confident that if prices come back down to retest some of these levels, maybe come and retest these swings or something of that nature, that it will be a higher low and that those will be really, really good entries. So the other thing I'm waiting for, because I'm doing the leverage positions, I'm trying to wait for a little bit more confirmation. And that's the whole thing. It's like, should I wait for prices to come lower um, or not? It's like you really want to you want to have your own signals that if you learn market structure, you can come up with your own strategies on like, well, what do I do if the price what if I do if the price comes down? Do I buy or can I create myself some signals to buy so that I don't have to worry and so that I can kind of indiscriminately buy when these signals flash? Like, okay, we have our overbalance in time and price. So now when Bitcoin is in a weekly uptrend, and confirms that even more, then I'll be even more confident. So like right now, we're neutral on Bitcoin's uh, trend, and I'll just do this and I'll show the trend type. And you can see, we're in neutral territory right now. And so if we go back and say, okay, well, maybe I want to wait for some structure to form and for Bitcoin to be in a weekly uptrend, because you can see that when Bitcoin was in a weekly uptrend, like once that signal flashed, that's when the majority of the gains were. Come over here, a lot of sideways chop. Once Bitcoin hits a weekly uptrend, that's when most of the gains are. We have a lot of chop. We can wait for the weekly trend to turn up. Now, this is the thing. It's like not every signal is going to pan out. There were major signs of weakness here, and yes, we did briefly get a weekly uptrend, but we would have had stops below here because right when that broke, we were immediately in a downtrend. So we would have so, I mean, our entry and stop loss would have been really close together. That's why you want a stop loss, because it's like that's what's going to invalidate my thesis. If this goes against me, then I know. So, always important to have those levels in mind that invalidate your thesis. But essentially, you need to come up with your own plan. If I go across the board, like I've been posting, there's just bullish signal after bullish signal after bullish signal after bullish signal for the long term, for the macro. So, it's like, do I know what the weather is going to be like this week or next week? Not necessarily, but I know it's spring. And so I can hazard a guess at the overall arching theme of the next quarter or the next month or two because of that. So the way I look at it is like, well, right now we're basically are in like we're literally in spring where we're at, but the markets are basically in kind of a spring period. The sun's just starting to poke out, and when the sun shines, you got to make hay. So it's been cloudy and rainy. We've kind of been in fall, so to speak, and winter, and now we're kind of popping into spring. So that's one way to kind of have one analogy to it. And so it's like you really want to be my opinion is that you want to be in the market when the weather is favorable. And right now, there are clear signs that the weather is changing. That overbalance in time and price told us that the season has changed. We have gone from a downtrend to an uptrend until proven otherwise. And so we measure again going in the upward direction. We'll measure the other way to tell us when it's no longer spring. Spring and summer is gone, and we're going back into fall, right? This channel is mostly about reading the tape in real time to give us clues and hints on, how can we position ourselves for the months to come. So one thing I haven't looked at in a very long time is the M2 for Bitcoin. So why don't we just pop that on there so you can see what I'm saying. We'll do this. It has a 10-week lag. So why don't we go into the settings here and put this on that'll be a 10 period lag, 10-week lag. And so as you can see, let's see, really what I've done is I've offset this for the 10 weeks. But you can see that basically what this means, actually, let me just pop this. Sorry. Let me just take the offset off real quick so we can kind of so that we can see what happened here. Take that off. So what we can see is so in Q4 of last year, we saw global liquidity declining. And because this has a lag, those effects weren't realized until basically Q1, the very end of December into April. And now what we can see is basically from January on, so from Q1 of this year going on, we've basically just been going straight up with global liquidity. And so so what that means is because of the lag, and let me adjust this chart for the lag because it typically takes 10 to 12 weeks for Bitcoin to realize that price. What we can see is we have a bottom in global liquidity here, and then within a couple of weeks, Bitcoin found its bottom, and now we're basically have global liquidity trending upwards until about June. So what this tells me is roughly into the end of June, early July anyway. And we'll see how this, as time progresses, we'll see this. This might just be a pullback. We might be accelerating even higher in global liquidity. But either way, this will give us somewhat of a date range, a few weeks in advance, to have some kind of idea when this is going to dry up. But at the very least, we're just climbing higher nicely until the very end of June. So we have a couple months, it looks like, of upside to come. not without its corrections, not without its volatility, but that's what we're looking at. That's my thesis, and that's what I'm going with. So really, right now in the charts, what I'm waiting for is more situations where, we come down, we swing down, and once we swing back up, when we break this level, we're in a weekly uptrend. Just giving that one extra layer of confirmation is one way to do it. And the other way that I was looking at earlier, like in the case of Aptos, one way I would play this, a couple ways to think about it. I can wait for a breach of this trend line or a breach of this swing level right here, which will get me into neutral territory. Or I can monitor it during this week because we are in a weekly downtrend. And if we get prices a little bit lower or even at where they're at right now, from today's prices down to that very low is 39%. So effectively, if I'm confident in Aptos's ability to go up from here, I find it more likely because trends are up, liquidity is coming back into the market. I will actually show you another chart with the stablecoin dominance. Stablecoin dominance is going down, meaning money is flowing into the altcoin space. It doesn't all hit it doesn't hit every single thing, every project at the same time. But liquidity will go in, and then in those times, liquidity will slosh around, causing different projects to get pumped at different times. So it's scary to get into something like Aptos because it hasn't really shown a lot of strength. It hasn't broken its downtrends and things like that. When it did push up, though, that was still a 45% move. So I mean, we are seeing buying from this zone. So that's kind of the way I look at it. So something that I might be tempted to do, and I'm just going to keep an eye on it this week and see if it becomes more favorable or not. But one thing I might consider doing is getting a position in Aptos with 2x leverage. And the thing is, what I'd like to do, the reason I might consider waiting, because you're like, oh, well, why would you wait? Is what I might do is I might consider waiting. And if I don't snatch it, then I don't snatch it. But I might wait until I can snag something like prices a little bit closer to here, because then from here down to the very lows is 33%, meaning that I could use 3x leverage in that case, meaning I have to put less into the trade for the same trade amount. And that's kind of nice, meaning I can risk less for the same. Well, actually, I can risk less for more upside. I mean, who doesn't like that, right? So if I was able to snatch an entry down here, riding it up just to those all-time highs, that's a 300% move. And then, gosh, I'm not even going to look I have to look at other charts. This could have just been a weird Binance launch. I'm not sure. I got to look at more price history in there. But anyway, I'm not saying it could absolutely do a 20x, but we're way, way far away from that. The main point is if you're buying spot, buying something like Aptos is a good idea because the downside is pretty minimal. You can just see that visually that we're in a buy zone. The downside's pretty minimal. And if it does go down and if as long as it doesn't breach this level, you can kind of dollar cost average yourself into a position and then that'll be good. So if I do end up getting into any new positions this week, I will post them in the group. That's about it as far as, I mean, there's not much more to go over. We're in some positions. Our virtuals position is really good. That's kind of holding things together. I'm anticipating a pullback in that, so we'll just kind of wait. I've taken quite a bit of profits on that, like about 3,000 or so. So I got about 3,000 on the side in profit, waiting to find some other entries and some other altcoins. So that's kind of fun. And I wanted to take a quick moment to review some of the things that I've been posting in the group. Let me get rid of this. Sorry, there's some Zoom thing in my way. I wanted to go and take a look quick at a couple of the things that I've posted this week. More bullish signs. So this is a really good chart here. This is the USDT. Well, this is actually stablecoin dominance. So taking into account all the stablecoins in the market, what's their dominance like? And on a weekly time frame, you can just see for the last quite a while, for the last many months, probably going back even into 2024, we've just been ranging here. And when we hit this level, we come back down. So what I'm saying here is we also just breached this low right here, putting the weekly trend into neutral. And so that's kind of a similar thing trade setup that I'm looking for is perhaps to wait for this to get in a weekly downtrend. Will have us more confidence. But really, I see this targeting range lows over the course of the next couple months, and I'll set alerts in this area, and we'll see how it reacts. If we keep going below this as we come down, ultra bullish major altcoin season. But until then, I still think we have a lot of price appreciation to come because I think we've just ranged here. So obviously that will get invalidated if we breach these highs. But then again, the risk reward is pretty favorable because if it goes against us, it's not as far as if it ends up going the way that we want it to. So, or that we anticipate based on the data. Another one that I saw that I really enjoyed was you can see previous strong moves in gold. Then gold bleeds off. That precedes a large rally in Bitcoin. It did it again where gold had a really strong run and then went down for a period of time. Strong action in Bitcoin. What we're seeing right now is a pretty parabolic move in gold, and we're starting to see that slow down. And so, is this going to be similar to the past? And this, I just like this chart because there's so much other analysis that is pointing to Bitcoin breaking out in the coming months. And so I really like to see that. I'm going to keep you updated on things like that. This one's another interesting tidbit, but doesn't necessarily pertain to what we're doing right now. But it is worth checking out because anyway, it has to do with the overarching thesis to basically any trade that you're doing right now is you're short the US dollar is effectively what we're doing because as nation states lose confidence in the US dollar and don't want to lend money to a country that has $32 trillion in debt and no way to pay it back. As that happens, there's going to be an unwinding, and we want to be on the right side of that unwinding, so to speak. It's happening right now. So anyway, if you have any more questions about that, comment down below. Ask me a little bit more about that. That definitely plays into my thesis for this bull market. So yeah, not a whole lot to report. We're in strong territory across the board. If you haven't ever gotten into crypto, now is the time for sure, because I feel like the next 6 to 8 months are going to be insane. There's a possibility we have another 12 months of this bull market. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. Got to keep our options open. But yeah, for me right now, I'm majorly bullish. And so I'm just chilling on the sideline, waiting for these opportunities to come to me. There's a few things that I'm waiting for signs of strength. But there are also other opportunities out there, like for instance, Aptos, where depending on what you're doing, like if you're just buying spot, like Aptos is a really good buy. Like go look for charts that are like this rather than charts that are like this. I bought Hyperliquid. Let me find a better chart. I really like Hyperliquid, but you can see that we're quite a ways off the lows. This thing's already basically taken off, and I know it will do really well for the rest of the bull market. So you could have some other strategies on how to get into that token. But what I'm saying is like look for things like Aptos that are down here in the range lows, ready to take off, rather than finding something that's already completely taken off. Or if you do have a strategy and levels to get in at. Rather than trying to chase the market. So set up your levels, set alerts, let the market come to you, and then that's just going to make a world of difference because you shouldn't be trading every day. Is there an opportunity every single day in crypto to make money? Absolutely, for sure. I'm sure if you went through all the 100,000 charts, you'd be able to find an opportunity. But the reality is that most of trading is waiting for the times to be right. We've basically just been waiting for the times to be right, ever since we've been in a downtrend. We've basically been waiting for conditions to be right for a long period of time as we've been coming down here. Basically, what we could have done is we could have set this trend line up when this formed and walked away and set an alert on it until it was breached, and then it gets breached right here. Okay, well now we can be interested, right? And so, you've saved yourself months of checking the chart every single damn day just by doing something simple like that, and studying technical analysis and understanding market structure and what comes after distribution and what comes after accumulation, and just, yeah, basic stuff like that, which is what I want to teach on this channel. And I want to go do more deep dives into those kinds of things and have some mini master classes on that so that you can just read the markets in real time. That's how we were able to turn that 5K into 11K in a week, because we were not because we're some pro and we were able to predict the future, because nobody can actually do that. It's more what was the market telling us in real time, and then that's what you go with. And you will be wrong. You will be wrong, and at times, and you will be wrong in your thesis, or how it gets to where you're expecting it to go will not pan out that way. But overall, I think what nobody teaches is that it's up to you. You have to get in, you have to do the research, you have to understand these things. But if you go to the charts every day and you study and you study and you study and you study the theories and you study market structure and what causes markets to move, and you learn how to read the market in real time, what it's telling you, you can generate your own signals and make your own damn mind. You can't listen to me and tell you what's a good entry for what token, because my trading style might be totally different than something that you're interested in. But I guess it's not a one size fits all. And I think that that's what I see a lot of people trying to teach is, oh, you can just do this and you can just do this. And then if you just do that and if you just do this, it's not that simple. Like, there is no one size fits all. There is no signal that works 100% of the time. It's about finding confluence between, it's about finding confluence basically. So anyway, right now, confluence right now is a little mixed match. We're neutral on the weekly, up on the daily. I feel that once we hit a weekly uptrend on Bitcoin, we'll be even more confident. And then clearly, like once we breach these highs here, that's just going to send the market just like it did back here. Once we breach these highs, that's what really sent this market. So we're still early days. There's no point in panicking or aping into something, but we can strategically start to find some areas of value and snipe in some trades down here in the lows and get in a little bit earlier than, definitely earlier than the crowd, because I can tell you one thing, the crowd's not going to be interested until we're up in here. Crowd's not going to be interested until we're up in here. And that would be a great time for us to sell. So, we should be interested during these lower levels, which is what we've been tracking and what we've been doing. And we've been able to see some good gains from that. So, yeah, I think that's basically it for this week, and we'll just keep track of things, how things are going. If we do get a pullback, I find that major opportunity, because we've already had these major signals flashing that we've broken this downtrend in Bitcoin. So, yep, lots of opportunity ahead, and we'll just keep reading the market as it comes.